Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I will be continuing with Jesus Calling Bible Storybook. Today's story will be Joesph the Dreamer. Joesph and his brothers from Genesis 37. Joesph was one of Jacob's 13 children. Joseph's older brothers disliked him because he tattled. They disliked him even more when their father gave Joesph a colorful new robe. They really disliked him when Joesph said, "I had a dream. We were tying bundles of grain, and your bundles bowed down to mine like I was your king." "Our king?" his brothers wailed. "No way." "I had another dream," Joesph said. "The sun, moon, and stars bowed down to me." One day, Joesph went to check on his brothers in the fields. When they saw him, they said, "We'll get rid of that dreamer who thinks he's so great." Then they grabbed Joesph and threw him into a well. Later, a group of traders came along riding on camels. "Where are you going?" the brothers asked. "To Egypt," the men said. So Joseph's brothers sold him to the traders. "We'll mess up Joseph's new robe and tell Dad that a wild animal killed him," the brothers decided, and that's what they did. Joesph and Potiphar's wife from Genesis 39. The traders sold Joesph as a slave to the captain of the king's guard, a man named Potiphar. With God's favor, Joesph did well at his work. He grew strong and handsome, so handsome that Potiphar's wife fell in love with him. "Come with me," she said. "No," Joesph cried. "That would be wrong. You are married." From then on, Joesph tried to stay away from her. Potiphar's wife felt angry because Joesph didn't obey her command. When no one was watching, she took Joseph's coat. Then she brought it to her husband. "Look, Joesph came to me to shame me," she lied to Potiphar. So Potiphar threw Joesph into the king's prison. But God was with Joesph. Soon Joesph was put in charge of all the prisoners and all the prison work. Jesus Calling. Even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear what they fear. Do not be frightened. 1 Peter 3:14. Sometimes in this world you will have to suffer for doing the right thing, as Joesph did. Do not be afraid then. Do not be afraid even then, for I am always with you. Call on me, and I will comfort you. I can bring good even out of the bad things other people do. Joesph is set free from Genesis 40 to 41. God understands our dreams. While Joesph was in prison, God allowed him to understand dreams too. The king's wine taster got into trouble and was put in prison. The man asked Joesph to explain a dream. Joesph said, "Your dream means that you will get out of prison in 3 days. When that happens, ask the king if he will let me out too." Joesph was right. The man was set free, but he forgot to tell the king about Joesph until 2 years later. The king of Egypt had a dream, and he asked the wine taster to explain it. "I cannot," the man said, "but I remember a young man from prison who can." So the king sent for Joesph, and Joesph explained his dream. "Amazing," the king said. "The Spirit of God is in this man." Then the king set Joesph free. In fact, he was so impressed that he put Joesph in charge of the whole land of Egypt. Joesph forgives his brothers from Genesis 42 to 47. A great famine spread through the land. No one could find food. Back in Canaan, Joseph's family was starving. "We're so hungry," they wailed. By then, Joseph was governor of Egypt, and Egypt had lots of grain stored up because of his wise leadership. People came from all over to get some. Joseph's brothers came too. Not knowing what had become of Joseph, they didn't recognize him when they bowed to him. He was all grown up. But Joseph knew them. "Oh, governor, sir, may we please have some grain?" they asked. After all those years, Joseph's brothers were before him and did not even know who he was. "Are they still the mean brothers who sold me into slavery?" Joseph wondered. He questioned and tested them many times to see if they had changed. They had. Finally, Joseph cried, "I am your brother Joseph." They were shocked, speechless. They'd been so cruel those many years ago, and now Joseph was a mighty and powerful ruler. What would happen to them now? They didn't need to worry. Joseph forgave them. Though the brothers' plan was for evil, to harm Joseph, God had turned it into good, because Joseph was in Egypt and in charge of storing up food. God made sure Joseph's whole family was saved from the famine. They all moved to Egypt, and when Jacob arrived, Joseph came to greet him and threw his arms around his father. They wept tears of joy because God had brought them together again. Jesus calling. Put up with each other and forgive anyone who does you wrong, just as Christ has forgiven you. Colossians 3:13. Life is not always fair. When people do things that hurt you, I want you to forgive them, remembering that I always forgive you. I had to pay a very big price so I could forgive you and others who trust me as Savior. When you forgive someone who has hurt you, this makes me happy. It will make you happy too. I hoped everyone enjoyed. Until next time, please subscribe. Bye.